Hello, Virgo. Anna here. Welcome back to your space. Virgo, and I hope you're doing well. So, something is tilting that was supposed to stay level. That's the first thing I have. Not a person yet, not a feeling. A sense of weight redistributing, the way a room feels different the second before something on a high shelf decides to come down. Let me say thank you before I step into it. To the ones who keep coming back and sitting with me like this. You make this a real place rather than a performance. And if you're new tonight, I'm genuinely glad you're here. I read the comments long after the video ends, so nothing said here just disappears. Settle in and let yourself be here for a few minutes. This is for Virgo. Now let me sit with the cards, because I don't want to name the shift before I've actually watched it move. I'm seeing a window at dusk and someone's reflection in it, faint, the way your own face shows up in glass when the light outside drops and the light inside comes up. This person is looking out, but what they're really doing is looking at themselves without meaning to. That's where I'm starting. Someone caught in their own reflection at the hour when the day turns over. Let me describe what I felt the moment this opened. I felt motion, the specific quality of a situation that has stopped being fixed, something that had settled into a shape that everyone had accepted as just how things were, has started to come unstuck, and the cards are insistent about this. Whatever has been static is moving now. I felt a turning, which sounds like the same thing but isn't. Motion is just change. A turning is change with a direction, a reversal, a thing that was going one way now going the other. This has direction. And underneath both, I felt the cold drop of someone realizing, not deciding, realizing the difference matters, and I'll come back to it. It's the feeling in the stomach when a thing you'd managed not to look at finally makes you look at it. That feeling is sitting in this person now, and it wasn't there a little while ago, which is how I know something recently moved. The first card arrived in the position of what was actually done, the thing the title is pointing at when it says what they did to you. It shows a figure walking away from a scene with cups in hand, others left spilled behind them, the picture of someone who took something and went, who chose their own advantage and left the cost with someone else. Water, feeling, and the mishandling of it. What I'm reading, plainly, is that this wasn't a passive wrong. It wasn't a drifting apart or a failure to show up. It was an action. A choice this person made that benefited them and cost you, and that they justified to themselves at the time with a story that let them keep moving without looking back. Wait, let me look closer, because I want to know what kind of action, and my first read might be too simple. I assume this was a betrayal in the romantic sense, and it might be, but the card is showing me something more like a choice between you and their own comfort, their own image, their own easier path. They had a moment where they could have stood by you or stood by themselves, and they picked themselves and they dressed it up as something more reasonable than that so they wouldn't have to feel the full weight of it. That's the thing they did, not just a wound, a choice with you on the losing end of it. I want to stay with the justification for a second, because the cups left spilled behind the figure are the part people skip. This person didn't walk away thinking they were the villain. Nobody does. They built a story on the way out, a reasonable sounding account where what they did made sense, where you'd be fine, where the cost to you was smaller than it was. That story was load-bearing. It's what let them sleep. And the thing about a story you tell yourself to justify a choice is that it only holds as long as the choice keeps looking right. The moment the choice stops paying off, the story loses its foundation, and the person is left holding the bare fact of what they did without the cushion they wrapped it in. That's the position they're moving into now. The cushion is going. Let me stay with that because the next card is going to do something to it. The second card arrived in the position of the turn of events, and this is the center of the whole reading, so I want to slow all the way down. It shows a great wheel, figures on its rim, one rising and one descending, the whole structure caught mid-rotation. And I almost read this as your turn, as something good arriving for you, because that's the hopeful read. But that's not what the card is doing. Let me follow it properly. The descent on this wheel is theirs. The turn of events is not primarily something happening to you. It's something happening to them. The situation they chose, the easier path they took when they walked away with the cups, has not held up the way they expected. The story they told themselves to justify the choice has started to fall apart on contact with reality. What looked like the smart move, the safe move, the move that cost them nothing, has begun revealing its actual price. And the price is arriving now on their side of the wheel, in the part of the rotation where the thing that rose comes back down. This reframes the regret completely. Let me say it clearly. They're not regretting what they did to you out of pure conscience, in a quiet room, of their own free will. The regret is being produced, at least in part, by the turn of events, by watching the choice they made stop paying off, by the slow, undeniable arrival of consequences they assumed would never come. The wheel is what's making them look back. The wheel is what put their own reflection in that window at dusk. I want to name something about how this kind of turn actually arrives, because it's rarely the dramatic collapse people imagine. The wheel doesn't usually drop someone all at once. It works in increments. A thing that was supposed to be simple gets complicated. A relationship or an opportunity or an arrangement they chose over you reveals a flaw they can't fix. Something they were sure of stops being sure. And each increment on its own is deniable, small enough to explain away, until enough of them stack up that the pattern becomes undeniable even to the person most motivated to deny it. That's where this person is in the rotation, past the point where the increments can still be explained away, at the point where the shape of the whole thing has become visible to them. That visibility is the turn. It's already happening. It doesn't need anything further from you to keep going. The third card arrived in the position of what they now see, and I want to read it carefully because it's more painful for them than people usually assume. It shows a figure with their head in their hands, swords above them, the picture of someone awake at the wrong hour with the full weight of a realization sitting on them, swords. The mind and the specific torment of seeing something clearly that you can no longer change. What I'm reading is that the realization has two layers, and the second one is the one that's actually getting them. The first layer is times I lost something good. That one's manageable. People survive that. The second layer is times I lost it for nothing. The thing they chose you over, the comfort or the image or the easier path, turned out not to be worth what they traded for it. That's the realization in this card. Not just that they hurt you, but that they hurt you for a payoff that has now evaporated. And that specific shape of regret, the for nothing kind, is the one that keeps a person up at the wrong hour with their head in their hands. Does this feel like it's landing on something real, Virgo? The sense that someone who wronged you is watching their own situation turn and starting to understand what their choice actually cost them. If a specific person came to mind the moment I said what they did, tell me in one word in the comments. I read every one. Let me go back to that distinction from the start, realizing versus deciding, because now it pays off. Deciding is clean. Deciding is a person sitting with their conscience and choosing to make something right. Realizing is messier and more involuntary. Realizing is when the truth arrives, whether or not you invited it. When the consequences walk up to your door and you can't pretend anymore. This person is in the realizing kind. The regret didn't come from their better nature waking up. It came from the world declining to let them get away with it. And I want you to hold that distinction because it changes what you can trust about what's coming. A decided apology can be sincere. A realized one is real, but it's also partly about their own loss, not only yours. Now, inhale with me, Virgo, because the fourth card is about you, and I want it to reach you before your mind starts working on it. It shows a figure standing on solid ground, settled, holding what they've built. The picture of someone whose footing was never the thing in question. Earth, the realm of what's actually real and lasting. What I'm reading, and I want to name it carefully, is that while their side of the wheel has been descending, your side has simply been steady. Not dramatically rising, steady. You didn't have to engineer this turn. You didn't have to plot or wait or wish it into being. You just kept standing on your own ground while the thing they chose over you quietly came apart on its own. The major turn of events isn't something you have to make happen. It's something that's happening because choices have weights and theirs is finally being weighed. And I think you've carried a version of this where you wondered if you should have done something, fought harder, confronted them, made them see. The cards are telling me you didn't need to. The truth was always going to arrive on its own schedule through the natural consequence of what they did without requiring your effort to deliver it. You being steady was enough. You being yourself was enough. The wheel did the rest the way it always does on the schedule. It always keeps, regardless of who's watching. I want to say something specific about how Virgo handles a turn like this, because your mind does a particular thing. There's going to be a pull toward the score, toward watching their descent and feeling the grim satisfaction of being proven right, and then immediately feeling uneasy about feeling it because you don't actually want to be the kind of person who enjoys someone's downfall. Let me take that bind off you. You're allowed to feel the relief of being vindicated without it, meaning you're cruel. Noticing that consequences found someone is not the same as wishing harm on them. You can register the turn, feel the weight come off your own shoulders, and still not be rooting for their suffering. Those can all be true at once. You don't have to perform serenity you don't feel, and you don't have to perform a vengeance that isn't in you either. There's a second thing, quieter. When they come back, and the cards suggest they will, your fairness is going to want to give their regret full credit, to treat it as nobler than it is. Don't overcorrect into that. You can receive their regret as real and still notice that part of it is about their own loss. Holding both isn't cynicism, it's accuracy. And accuracy has always been your protection. The fifth card arrived in the position of where this goes, and I'll read it honestly rather than tie a bow on it. It shows a figure at the start of a path with a small bundle looking outward, the picture of a beginning that's available but not yet taken. What I'm reading is that the turn of events opens something, but it doesn't decide it. There's a new road here, and it's genuinely open, but the cards won't pretend to tell you it's already walked. What's confirmed is the turn itself, the descent of their situation, the arrival of the consequences, the regret that's being produced by all of it. What's open is what you do with the version of them that comes back changed by it. That part stays yours. And I want to be careful with the word changed there because it's the hinge of everything that happens next. Someone humbled by consequences is not automatically someone transformed. There's a difference between a person who has learned what they lost and a person who has actually become someone who wouldn't lose it again. And from where I'm sitting, the cards show me the first clearly and stay quiet about the second. That's not me hedging. It's me refusing to tell you the comfortable thing. When they come back, the question worth asking isn't whether they're sorry, because the turn is making them sorry. The question is whether anything underneath the sorry is actually different. You'll know that by watching, not by listening. Give yourself permission to take the time that watching requires. Let me give you the last image because it arrived and I want you to have it exactly. It's the window again, dusk again, but now the light outside has dropped enough that the reflection is all this person can see. Their own face looking back at them in a room that's quieter than they expected it to be. They reached for the easier thing, and the easier thing left them standing alone in front of their own reflection at the hour the day turns over. I don't see what they do next. The cards don't show me, and I won't invent it, but the reflection is unavoidable now. They can't look past it anymore. That's where I'll leave them. Caught in the turn, finally seeing the cost, no longer able to look away from what their own reflection has been trying to tell them. Before I close, I want to say the honest thing rather than the satisfying one. Someone is regretting what they did to you, and the major turn of events is real, but the truest part isn't their regret, and it isn't their dissent. The truest part is that you never had to do anything to make this happen. You didn't have to chase it or force it or prove anything. The choice they made carried its own consequence, the way choices do, and it's arriving on its own. Your job was never to deliver the lesson. Your job was to keep standing on your own ground, and you did. What you do when they come back is entirely yours. The cards leave it open on purpose, because that road is yours to walk or not. What's settled is this: the wheel turned, the cost came due, and you were steady the whole time. I want to add one more honest note, because the turn of events is easy to read as a story about them, and it's actually a story about you. The reason their choice cost them so much is that what they walked away from had genuine weight. You don't lose something for nothing unless the something was real. The size of their regret is a measurement of what you were worth to the situation, taken by the only instrument that ever tells the truth, which is consequence. They're learning your value the hard way, through its absence. That value was always there. It didn't appear when they started missing it. It just stopped being free. If this names something you felt, if you recognize that drop of someone realizing too late or the quiet of a situation finally turning, I'd genuinely like to know. Not all of it unless you want to tell it. Just enough that I know it found the right person. I read every single comment and I hold what is shared in this space with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo. Something tilted that was supposed to stay level. It tilted on their side, not yours. And the regret arriving with it is real, even if part of it is about what they lost. You didn't make this happen. You just stood still and let the truth find its own way. Set it down for tonight. The wheel keeps turning whether you watch it or not, and you'll still be standing where you've been standing. Steady. Yours.